X.BRs, Internet Exchange, and also projects that will collaborate to guarantee a safe net.
Segurança para todo mundo usar melhor as redes. Não envie dinheiro ou informações pessoais a pessoas que você não conhece ou que parecem suspeitas.
As pessoas publicam imagens sexuais de crianças que nunca deveriam ser compartilhadas, sempre que este conteúdo é compartilhado.
Tudo que vê por aqui? Pois não deveria, porque eu nunca disse essa frase. Na verdade, eu sequer gravei esse vídeo.
Não sou eu quem
está
falando
falando
isso
agora,
mas sim
uma inteligência artificial.
Usando um vídeo da Isabela, pesquisadora aqui do Vero, eu consegui criar um vídeo totalmente novo, imitando a voz, o cenário e o jeito que ela fala. Agora imagina o que uma pessoa mal intencionada poderia fazer. Por isso, é importante sempre seguir esses passos com tudo que você vê na internet. Sempre cheque a credibilidade da fonte de qualquer informação. Foque em veículos conhecidos. Imagens e textos sem contexto que a gente recebe no grupo da família não são 100% confiáveis. Se uma história parece suspeita ou absurda, faça uma rápida pesquisa online para ver se outras fontes confiáveis estão reportando o mesmo fato. E, principalmente, mantenha um senso crítico sobre a informação que você recebe, especialmente nas redes sociais. Exercite a dúvida. Tá tudo bem não ter certeza de tudo.
O perfil é meu e eu faço o que eu quiser. Provavelmente você já ouviu essa frase e é por isso que as empresas de tecnologia precisam investir em mais campanhas para a galera ficar ciente de valores sociais e legais nas redes sociais.
Eu gostaria que o acesso à internet fosse um direito garantido pelo governo.
Precisamos de uma educação altamente eficaz que capacite as pessoas a viverem coletivamente na internet.
Que as escolas promovam um debate aberto, atualizado e contínuo sobre o uso da internet.
Que a checagem de informações seja uma prática diária de todos os brasileiros, encorajada principalmente por políticas públicas de educação.
Eu quero que as universidades públicas se comprometam com o debate sobre cidadania digital, através do seu tripé acadêmico de pesquisa, ensino e extensão.
Eu quero mais pessoas LGBTs, negras, indígenas e quilombolas pensando política pública digital.
A minha proposta é que outros jovens indígenas possam ter essa mesma oportunidade que eu tive de ocupar espaços como este no Cidadão Digital, na Safernet, para falar sobre sua identidade, suas lutas e direitos.
Que a juventude possa ter um comprometimento ético e crítico sobre o uso que faz da internet.
Já imaginou se você não tivesse seu direito à liberdade de expressão respeitado? Se seus dados particulares fossem divulgados sem autorização? Ou se você tivesse sua navegação filtrada por causa de interesses comerciais? A liberdade de expressão, a privacidade e a neutralidade da rede são fundamentais para a internet. E esses são apenas alguns dos 10 princípios formulados pelo Comitê Gestor da Internet no Brasil. O CGI.br promove há mais de 20 anos a internet no país. Graças a ele, você tem constante inovação, segurança e diretrizes para o desenvolvimento da internet. Isso tudo é feito de forma colaborativa, transparente e democrática. O comitê é formado por representantes de todos os setores da sociedade. Assim, as decisões são tomadas por meio do diálogo, com a participação de todos os membros até que um consenso seja alcançado. Por esses e outros fatores, o modelo brasileiro de governança se tornou referência no mundo todo. CGI.br, por uma internet cada vez melhor no Brasil.
Quando você registra um domínio .br, você está contribuindo para a melhoria da internet no Brasil. Pois cada domínio que usa o .br é registrado pelo NIC.br, o Núcleo de Informação e Coordenação do .br. que além de registros de nomes de domínios, investe em análise e tratamento de incidentes de segurança, projetos de tecnologias de redes e operações, pesquisas que trazem indicadores sobre o uso das tecnologias da informação e comunicação, implementação de pontos de troca de tráfego local na internet, projetos que contribuem no desenvolvimento global da web e muito mais. Tudo isso porque o NIC.br é uma entidade civil de direito privado e sem fins lucrativos, que mantém uma estrutura de registro de domínio segura, estável e de confiança, e reverte parte do que você paga pelo seu domínio no desenvolvimento de infraestrutura, trazendo benefícios para todos que usam a internet no Brasil. Toda essa inovação, tecnologia de ponta, segurança e infraestrutura só é possível porque você tem um domínio.br. NIC.br, sempre em busca do melhor para a nossa internet.
One day, humankind created a wonderful tool, the computer. Innovation followed its course, and the internet was born. One of the greatest inventions, the power at your fingertips to learn, play, connect, interact, create, and share. A universal access, connecting the world. Unfortunately, there is a flip side to everything. Cybercrime, illegal content, including the worst of the worst area, online child sexual abuse. Child victims need protection. Offenders need to be brought to justice. And you, the digital citizens, need to know you are not powerless. This is why the In Hope network was born. Through a hotline, you can anonymously report any images and videos you suspect are illegal. Each report is thoroughly assessed by qualified analysts and legal experts. If it is confirmed as illegal, it will be notified.
Na verdade, eu sequer gravei esse vídeo. Não sei o que está falando agora.
Mas sim uma inteligência artificial. Usando um vídeo da Isabela, pesquisadora do Zero, eu consegui criar um vídeo totalmente novo, imitando a voz, o cenário e o jeito que ela fala. Agora imagina o que uma pessoa mal intencionada poderia fazer. Por isso, é importante sempre seguir esses passos com tudo que você vê na internet. Sempre cheque a credibilidade da fonte de qualquer informação. Foque em veículos conhecidos. Imagens e textos sem contexto que a gente recebe no grupo da família.
Já imaginou se você não tivesse seu direito à liberdade de expressão respeitado? Se seus dados particulares fossem divulgados sem autorização? Ou se você tivesse sua navegação filtrada por causa de interesses comerciais? A liberdade de expressão, a privacidade e a neutralidade da rede são fundamentais para a internet. E esses são apenas alguns dos 10 princípios formulados pelo Comitê Gestor da Internet no Brasil. O CGI.br promove há mais de 20 anos a internet no país. Graças a ele, você tem constante inovação, segurança e diretrizes para o desenvolvimento da internet. Isso tudo é feito de forma colaborativa, transparente e democrática. O comitê é formado por representantes de todos os setores da sociedade. Assim, as decisões são tomadas por meio do diálogo, com a participação de todos os membros até que um consenso seja alcançado. Por esses e outros fatores, o modelo brasileiro de governança se tornou referência no mundo todo. CGI.br, por uma internet cada vez melhor no Brasil.
Quando você registra um domínio .br, você está contribuindo para a melhoria da internet no Brasil, pois cada domínio que usa o .br é registrado pelo
Bem-vindas e bem-vindos de volta. Espero que tenham.
Welcome back. I hope you had all a nice lunch. How are you feeling now? Full of energy? So let's get back to our agenda, which is our 16th edition when we are celebrating Safernet Day. This activity is being broadcasted live on safernetday.org.br, NIC.br YouTube channels page, and also at their Facebook page as well. Don't refrain from interacting with our hashtags SID 2024 and hashtag Dia da Internet Segura. Several other countries are also today carrying out a number of activities all over. It's a day to celebrate, and you are all invited to strengthen our participation in this global joint effort. Much has been said here about safety, prevention, risk management, and now it's time to talk about some new safety initiatives. And for that, we have Christine Hoppers, General Manager for CERT.br.
E com ela, para falar da segurança, de iniciativas de segurança, o senhor Leonardo Rodrigues
and Dr. Ferreira, who is Safety and Information and Safety and Privacy. He's a director for mgi/gov.br. He's here representing the digital secretary. Welcome, you both. And now, Christine, you have the floor.
Boa tarde a todos aí.
Hi there. Good afternoon. We know that there are some people to join us. They are on their way. But anyhow, shall we resume? It's always a great honor to be here participating and helping NIC.br to organize this relevant activity. Safety is a key word here today, and people have to be prepared and educated for that. In our first panel, someone said, well, a child has been affected, and then you talk to a parent, well, that your son is not 13. How did you let him or her, accessing a social media? Well, parents, they sometimes they don't know what to do, they don't understand, and I'm not just talking about crimes that can affect directly our children, but also children get involved into regular crimes. I have been in this field for over 20 years, and we always bump into some adolescent that was doing something wrong, that was being invaded, and the father says, no, but he was so quiet, he was in his room, but he was not quiet. He was being a hacker, he was invading like bank websites. So let's not forget about that, because it's a coin of two sides. So I'm here to share some new initiatives. Can I have my slides, please? Ah, great.
Então, eu vou falar pouquinho aqui de lançamentos do NIC, né? A gente sempre guarda alguma coisa para lançar no dia.
So we always, save something to release on our Safernet Day. And we have our guides that were designed for children and their parents. And we understand how important it is to have a parents' engagement, especially because the parents, they will say, well, my child is asking me about something which I'm not quite aware about, I feel unsafe. Anyway, this is a material that was designed for children from 8 to 12 years of age. People would say, well, you have to do something online, but exactly the opposite. We want to, take children away from their screen. That's why we had decided to prepare this printed material. We have some toys that you can, play at home. We have crosswords, and this material right now is available in Spanish and Finnish, thanks to a partnership with the National Security Center from Holland. They always, give us a very positive feedback. And last year, they told us that this is the most popular material they have ever used before. All schools, they always ask us to have more of this material available. They find it very useful. And to add to this material, and with the engagement and with the idea of engaging parents, we thought, how could we involve parents in these activities with their children? For those who had a chance to take a look at this material outside, here you see just a print of it. This is a board which does not talk about technology, but rather talks about behavior. And the idea here is, how can we discuss in a fun way about online behavior with all these players? participating schools, parents, and children. So we have like this regular board, you may use a dice, or even with the modern parents that may even, use a randomic app. But I think, yeah, I would rather something more, normal, like a dice. And if you get to a box with a positive behavior, you will get to the end faster. But if you have a negative behavior, you have to go back some steps. Some parents, they helped us with a beta test with their children, and it was very interesting. And despite a small number of children participating at our test, one of the feedbacks we got was, well, they were always willing to play more and more. And even if they knew that by heart, they want to do it again because they found that so funny. So this is a material available for download at our web page, high resolution that is being printed in A3. This is the material that we have available on display outside. You may play with beans, with the dice. If you have none, you have the characters that you can just cut and use. And then we have the good guys. The good guys, they do not involve the bad guys. And this is a ludic way to involve children, educators, parents. When I was a child, this game would be a game for a rainy day. And now on a rainy days, people or kids, they prefer to stay just behind the screen. So it's high time that we go back to, those board games with a more educative approach. So we hope that this game will be an additional element. Here at NIC.br, we are able to send small quantities. We are not a publisher, don't take me wrong, but if you reach us by email, we are able to send, a certain amount to people that would like to have some samples. And let me remind you that in the past month, we had updated 3 of our materials: data protection, so this is a new release, data protection and data leakage. How can we explain in a short, brief, and straightforward manner data protection, and not just about GDPR, but also about, computers, losing computer, or a cell lost, having your cell phone been stolen. With the new resources in our operational system, that can be done, but you are all invited to make use of the material, give it away so it may reach other people. It's also in our scope, close in partnership with our sponsors that have different public penetration that could advocate on our behalf. And Leonardo, throughout the digital secretary, he is one of those players. I close and conclude my presentation, but let me invite you to follow our Instagram page, where we have all this material available: security, network safety, everything else that you'd like to find in terms of Safernet, it will be available there. Okay, now I hand over to my colleague Leo, who will address some governmental initiatives and what they are doing as regarding safety. Thank you and good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chris. Good afternoon to all participants on site and online. I am Leonardo Ferreira. I'm here as an information privacy and security director. I will share some figures about this large operation. But before that, I would like to thank Thiago, Safernet, CGI, CERT.br for this wonderful partnership. It's a partnership that we have already for a couple of years, and to become an institutional supporter, it's not somewhat new. This is part of a joint relationship that we have established for a while. So here I am today to share our perspective. I like talking a lot. I'm very talkative. I have 15 minutes plus those 7 minutes that Chris had left from her time. Well, Digital Secretary is part of innovation management endeavor by the public ministry. And I am one of the directors, and I'm in charge for personal data protection, privacy, and cybersecurity for our digital government. We are a central entity with another 252 agencies. Any public agency, central bank, treasury, federal revenue, all federal universities, all federal institutes, all federal agencies, we are responsible for their digital strategy and anything regarding cybersecurity, personal privacy, which supports the digital process. But right in the beginning, we had a more inside-out approach where the governmental agencies would be more resilient towards cybersecurity and as to digital privacy and personal data. But our new platform .br is .gov.br, which is our platform, and you probably have at your smartphones gov.br app. And that app became a great product by the SGD, which is the digital secretary. And now we have a different perspective. We work outside in. How can we reach our citizens? And here just some numbers, recent numbers, February 24, we have reached 156 million gov.br accounts. So almost 90% of Brazilians, they access gov.br. What is that exactly? Gov.br account is an account which allows you to access almost 5,000 digital services, my INSS, NN, SISU, universities, your driver's license. Now we have the identity card, which is a national one with all the information, the citizens' information available. So we are talking here about a large volume of services that citizens may access via gov.br platform. So our operation is really huge. We also have electronic signatures. There is no need to go to a notary. We have throughout gov.br, you are able to conduct different operations. And 3 years ago, we designed a program for information security. Who are service providers for all this huge volume of services? Once you send your revenue, it's the RIS, which makes available in our platform services for citizens to report their IRS. So we have all those agencies, they have to offer services respecting all levels of privacy. And if I'm dealing with Brazilian citizens' information, we have to have several layers of protection. if you have any curiosity, just, access our QR code for further information. And it's mandatory that all 250 agencies, they comply with our program of information security to be able to improve resilience and maturity of those 250 agencies. And just to name some of the initiatives, there is a set of strategies to support such a maturity. In the past years, we had designed a framework which is specific for governmental agencies. There is a set of 13 privacy controls, personal data, another 18 controls which will work just on cybersecurity. I mean, it's a huge menu with a total of 310 measures for privacy and security. If you have an inventory of hardware and software, a policy of backup, access management control, just to name some of those disciplines that can be done throughout this platform. It took us like 3 years to have that done, and now we have challenges set to all those 250 agencies. For the 6 months, we check those out, and we follow a planning that by 2026, all agencies, they have to go throughout this cycle of measures. There are some agencies with all the 300 measures already implemented by such as the IRS, the Brazilian banks, but there are others that are still in the beginning. There are other 6 lines of defense to support the organization, such as a governance, working on norms, methodologies, risk management. We also have a methodology for front with our framework, guides, and models.
Chris knows that we have 20 guidebooks already published. So more than having a backup policy, we show how to design a policy. We make templates available with also a checklist. So our manuals are very, very detailed. We have what we call a maturity pillar. In October last year, we closed the self-assessment of all government agencies with regards to this framework. We have 2 indicators, IMPRIV for privacy and INSEV for safety. So today, Tiago, I can say that one of the most mature agencies that we have is the central bank. How about the ones that are in the bottom of line? I can't disclose the information, but we know who they are and we work with them. But we needed more visibility. And today we have a visibility of the level of maturity. We have a technology tower where we develop our operational capacity. We have CISC, which is the Cyber Security Center, Integrated Center. It sits in Brasilia and it monitors these agencies 24/7. So all the time we're monitoring possible incidents, hack cases, etc. And we have a management tower, that is, we have to make the program work. So there are people that follow the product on the day-to-day. And finally, but certainly not less important, we have a pillar of people, which is where we work on education, awareness, capacity building, training at the most diverse levels. And that connects to the launch that we are having today. So when you see all those pillars, one is focused on our people. And now we are launching, Tiago, our Excellence Center in Privacy and Cybersecurity of the government, a digital platform. So when you think of our Excellence Center, this is a physical facility sitting in our area in Brasilia, and it has 3 pillars. One is education in privacy and security, which connects to the Safe Internet Day. It has 1 pillar on research and development, and we have partnerships with universities, private companies. We want to develop technology. We want to be a power in South America, generating knowledge and sharing with other countries. We believe we do have the capacity. And the third pillar is very much connected to seeking partnerships, so research, innovation, partnership, and awareness with the 250 agencies. And in recent years, we've always had this discomfort of thinking of what we are doing for the benefit of citizens, because we have the services, okay, but we started to discuss how we can train people. Is the population ready, families, children, to have gov.br, to browse the internet safely, to use our services? We are talking about the things, for 2 days in this event. And we started to think who does good things in these areas in Brazil, NIC, and other partners. So the launch has to do with that. The Excellence Center wants to be a hub to promote information. We are talking about 150 million accessing our apps. We can have a pop-up saying, oh, you are here. Don't you want to learn more about data leakage, about protecting your mobile? So we want to give more visibility to work that is already being developed. So along this line, we are very proud today to announce that we are an institutional supporter of the set of guidebooks. So, Tiago, you're most probably going to visit in Brazilian. You're already invited. And when you go there at our headquarters, you're going to find some guidelines and you're going to say, oh, this set BR, is it NIC? It doesn't matter. What is important is that we are taking the message, whatever it has to be. It's really almost evangelical work. Monday through Monday, talking about the importance of information security. So we are very happy from the Digital Government Department to strengthen this partnership with you. In addition to make this platform available to citizens, we want more. We want to be part of the process. We want to be inside schools, states, municipalities in Brazil. We see that this material is quite valuable, and we want to help spread the word. So if you want, you can just get the QR code. You are going to go to our webpage in the Excellence Center. There, perhaps we already have a hub where we can have perhaps Safernet, SAT. You can just, share your material there together with our guidebooks, but it is a place where citizens will have access to a whole set of information. So, Chris, we are very, very happy and thankful for NIC for the opportunity. And, using, the NIC manual, we just suggest that people should know more about the whole work. Today, just for you to have an idea, we had a post on our website. Some media outlets are already announcing today our involvement as institutional supporters of this material. And we have really high hopes. It is the beginning of a journey. But I always like to say that we want to connect. So for those of you who are here with us, if you are a private company, an institutional, an university, we are ready to welcome you there to work on digital information and help our citizens. And when I'm talking about citizens, I'm talking about 60 plus, I'm talking about children, adolescents, to really make people more aware, resilient, and prepared to take the best of the digital economy. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
Muito obrigada pelas excelentes explanações, abrir a
Thanks
nossa...
for the wonderful explanations, really opening our minds Christine, Leonardo talking about web security. Thanks for accepting the invite to be here with us. Okay, moving on, still on the topic of cybersecurity, our third panel has as the main topic the role of the private sector in strengthening the digital security ecosystem in Brazil. For that, I'm going to invite Alana Rizzo, Head of Public Policies of YouTube Brazil and Latin America. Also with us, Thais Nifnegger, Safety and Well-being Manager at Meta. Fernando Galo, that was with us in the opening panel, Director of Public Policies for TikTok Brazil. Vinícius Brasileiro, Information Security Manager, Strategy and Risks at Globo. And our moderator is going to be Antonio Moreiras, our development manager for NIC.br. Just as a reminder, if there is time in the end of the panel, we are going to open for a Q&A session. Antonio is going to be the mediator. So for those who are here, you just raise your hand and the receptionists are going to take your questions. And if you are following us online, you can ask your questions on the chat box. So Antonio, up to you now. Okay, so let's try and have time for questions and answers. In the morning, much was said about public policies and how important they are, but that we also have to go beyond them because there are several stakeholders in the process who have contributions that can go beyond public policies and the role of the government. And this is what we want to hear from you on the role of private companies. So the panel is going to work like this. Each one of you will have 15 minutes, and in the end, hopefully, we're going to have Q&A. So Alana Rizzo, Head of Public Policies of YouTube Brazil and Latin America. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure. I'm going to stand up. I think it's easier. So it's a pleasure to be here with you again. In recent years, I've always joined this event, so thank for Safernet, CGI, NIC.br. It's always a pleasure to be in the room, also following you online. It is, so many different views that really brings a safer, healthier net. I'm going to talk about the YouTube efforts for a safer net and what we have been doing, especially towards children and adolescents. And then in the end, I'm going to open for your questions because I think this is a very interesting forum. Just apologize here, but anyway. Talking about efforts, I would like to share with you how we work every day to create a safer, richer environment for our youngsters. First, we work on two fronts. One, offering spaces and tools for people to navigate as they manage and depending on their creativity. We are an open video platform present in more than 100 countries. And in Brazil, we have more than 125 million users using YouTube every single day. And I'd like to share a piece of information that shows the size of YouTube, but also the size of our responsibility. Every minute, there is an upload of 500 hours of video. So imagine our responsibility. And we also have to be creative to keep alive plural community. Another important part of our work is to keep the safety, privacy, and well-being of youngsters in everything we do. So every time we think of content tools, we have to consider these two pillars. Since last year, we understood that more than working on policies, tools, we needed to adopt a work based on principles. We call it principiology. And here we think that we are talking about public principles that should be taken to discussion in Congress so that we can discuss topics based on principles. And we believe these principles can help guide the collaborative work that is in the development of a safer net. I'm going to talk about the 5 principles that we use to approach children and adolescents. I'm going to talk about them 5, then give you a bit more detail. The first is privacy, physical safety, mental health and well-being of children and adolescents require special online protections. Second, parents and tutors represent an important role to establish rules on online experiences, especially with younger children. Third, all children deserve access to high-quality content that is suitable to their age and meets their needs. Fourth, the needs of development of children are very different from those of adolescents, a lot to do with what Christine said, and should be reflected in online experiences. The differences have to be there. And fifth principle, with suitable protections, innovative technologies, we can benefit children and adolescents. Now let's see a bit more color about these principles. Principle 1, as I mentioned, is privacy and physical safety. We believe the objective is to build an excellent experience for youngsters, and therefore privacy, safety, and well-being are a must. And for that, we need policies, and that's why we are developing rules to forbid cyberbullying or sexual content for youngsters, and also working to identify the signs sooner to avoid this type of content in our platform. Principle 2, shared responsibility. That is so important to establish rules for an online experience. So parents, tutors have a role to establish clear limits for the use of screens. Tomorrow we have a very interesting panel on that, but also on teaching children and adolescents to make better choices, more responsible choices in terms of content. So this is something we can help parents with, creating parental control tools, mechanisms for parents and families and can understand our platform and therefore guide their children on the internet journey. The third principle, our children deserve access to high quality content that is suitable to their age and meets their needs. So it's no use if children and adults find safe content. It has to be relevant content, quality content that really contributes to the digital education and good citizenship on the web. Principle 3, we also believe that it's no use producing high quality content if it's not accessible to everyone. YouTube is an open platform. That's the idea. Inside our platform, we have this view that content has to be accessible. Access to information has to be democratic, but they also have to be high quality. And then each family will understand what makes more sense according to their needs. And if it is any content for minors of 18 years old, there is no advertising. Principle 4, and continue talking about principles on the journey of children and adolescents on the internet, we believe that these are very different journeys, children and adolescents. And more, we are working on really establishing clear differences. Adolescents, more and more, they want freedom, they want an autonomy, and we create tools for parents to guide their journey by means of a supervision journey, whatever fits better their families, their realities. But we also understand that we have to create understanding. Put children post, make online videos. So these are new tools that we are developing.
Also, here are some additional solutions and tools to follow their growth, adolescents' growth. I have a baby who is just 9 months old, and I get astonished to see, how fast she's growing. Everything happens so fast, let alone those who have teenagers at home. And there are some other tools that we have put together to help family members in that process, such as it's time to go to bed, it's time you stop using your screens, things like that, that may work as a piece of advice. Principle 5. Innovative technology, they may benefit children and adolescents. We do believe that technology has a huge potential, especially now with the AI and new tools that may even increase that creative process, but that journey has to be followed, guided. We want to develop together with our kids as long as we keep a safe and a healthy environment to our children and adolescents. Those 5 principles, they start from content monitoring, content choice, health, well-being. We remove any content that will violate our rules, and there are a number of them that will define what stay, what should leave from our platform, and also anything that has to do with violence, disinformation, malinformation, bullying, virtual bullying, and some other more specific policies such as self-mutilation and suicide. They are not statics. They keep changing in accordance to what we see and reflect upon our society, and also with the dialogue and exchange. Tiago is always very active in that collaboration manner, which is key to guarantee our technology evolution. How about our recommendations? We have always defined that in order to recommend content, how about high quality content? What are their guides? And here are some of them. First, content that you have to be a good person, how to be one, learning content, any sort of contents that will motivate the learning aspect, creativity, diversity, inclusion, and equity. These are some of the guides that we use in our guidance. We also try to reduce the dissemination of low quality content. We have defined together with some experts what we understand as being high or low quality content. Videos that will motivate negative behavior, pseudo-educative content, or a content that will prevent a proper comprehension or a weird between comments about infantile characters or children's characters. We are all part of a community made by users, developers, publishers, users, and to have a safer community, we have to listen to our society and to our community. And Tiago is one of the members at this committee, where we have regular meetings to be able to absorb new ideas, discussions, suggestions, to embed those ideas in our new products, technologies, always looking after what is more effective to our present, anticipating future risks to guarantee that YouTube is an open platform as long as it will keep our users safe. Well, this is my first take on this panel, because we believe that those principles, they may work as a way to guide and a stewardship about our collaboration partnership with the academy, civil society, and the private sector. Thank you, and I'll be around in case you have any other questions. Well, less than those 7,500 hours of new YouTube videos. You were really brief and clear. Now we have Thais, who is responsible for safety and well-being in the Americas. Well, benefiting from this special Safernet Day, instead of being more general, I would prefer to focus on youth, especially the latest update that we have to our Meta products, which are really related to everything else we have been discussing here today, such as children exploitation, abuse, sexual abuse, and so on. So I believe that to have a youngster-centered approach, this is what we have to do now, as we are dealing with the most vulnerable group of users. I'll try to be brief. My presentation is rather long, but I'll try to give you like an overview. But let me remind you that my presentation is available at our newsroom. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more into details about any one of the aspects covered here today, just access it or reach us and we'll be available to you. So how can we protect our youngsters? First, following that, I will talk about some specific actions to defeat harmful content, then youngsters' well-being policies, and to close our latest initiatives. We have to deal with principles that will guide our work with this population. We believe that we have to connect youngsters in a responsible way, respecting our mission, which is to create positive relationships and protective relationships. We understand that there are different levels of individual development. A teenager who is 13 is in a certain development curve, which is different from another youngster who is already 17. Therefore, we have to understand all these differences to be able to offer appropriated content in accordance to their age range. We are constantly updating our technologies, as well as our products that are always being updated. Ultimately, our goal is to offer the safest and the most responsible product ever. And there is not a finishing line. I guess we'll never be able to conclude all possible deleterious behavior in the web. That is just a reflection of what happens in the real world, which is just taken to the virtual one. And our role as a private sector representatives, we have to go after the best solutions to prevent risks like that. How about the levels of development? Our approach takes into account our youngsters' best interests that has been defined by the UN. And let's recall what are the main aspects of the framework. First, acknowledge that youngsters and their family members, they have all to be part of this process design. We also have to design environments that will be safe to their age range, promoting their autonomy, respecting their parents' rights and duties, prioritizing their well-being in relation to other commercial interests to support their privacy, I mean, the ones that will use the product, and also to call them to reach decisions. And last but not least, to make young people and their parents ready to understand what their rights are as well as their duties. We not just talk to advisors, external advisors that help us to design our policies, but we also we query our adolescents and parents in a so-called co-design session, as we believe that their involvement and participation is key in the development of the next step. This is our timeline just for you to realize how it takes place since 2018, and that has been taken place at different sites. Last time that we did it over here was in 2022, but we are planning to have another co-design session in Brazil. We haven't got a date yet, but we understand that is a demand, and after several editions, we understand that we can properly take that as part of our product designs. How about the impact of the co-design? How can those sessions impact this co-design? Well, if we get our users' perceptions, will be possible to better identify what the risks are. It's useless to be just externally trying to define something which can be arbitrary, but it does not talk to the reality, to the facts. It's useless to prohibit content access if youngsters, they are the ones who are interested in learning more about that content, as it is part of their curiosity, is part of their learning process. And our role, though, is to allow access to that content in a safe way. And what do we extract after each one of our co-design sessions? First, we highlight the main aspects. How do they behave? Who would they follow and who is following them? What is the screen time, which is going to be a topic for tomorrow afternoon session. Parents, they have to be empowered by this information, and they have to know who their children are reporting in the internet, so we can not only allow to our users a safe navigation, but also allowing parents to know how their children are behaving while using the internet. Because usually we are worried about our children when they are outside, if they are safe with the traffic, with all, all these other things that may take place while they are outside. But, we should be always worried and concerned while having our children at home using a internet platform. We have to know who they are talking with, how they are behaving, and who they are following and who is following them. Let's not forget the importance of respecting their privacy. It's not just a matter of opening their privacy, but you know, at least we parents, we would like to know who are my children friends, or to whom are they talking with, and not exactly what they are talking about. If you realize that your child might spend too long talking to an unknown person, you better try to find out who that person is. And all those supervisions, all this supervision can be done thanks to those insights that we may take from different actions. Second, how can we defeat harmful content? Well, our policies, they are defined throughout insights that we take from the co-design sessions, as well as talking to other stakeholders. Our goal is to update policies according to our needs. Here, an example of some of our policies and what can be shared and what cannot be shared, do's and don'ts. So we have hate speech, fake identification, fraud, celebrating crime, goods and services, so sexual exploitation, bullying, and sexual harassment. We understand that policies, they are based on some ideology, but they also have to be operational and very clear, and they have to be explained to help not only users, but also the users responsibles. It's up to us to motivate a proper behavior and to mitigate a harmful one, and to get rid of any malicious players. We work on proactive activities based on AI. Around 95% of the whole violated content, we are able to identify such a violation via AI. Well, this is a content that is not even uploaded to the platforms. For the residual one, we also count on human support. And let's remind our community, we have to make the best use of reporting any violated content, or a content which you believe that could be violating some of our behaviors. If you believe you are in face of a harmful content, you have to report it to guarantee that we are going to have a health and safe environment. At Meta, we work with the several experts. We have a team of engineers, of design, developers, but not only within Meta, but also external. We work with NGOs, authorities, other agencies. Some figures after our third quarter 2023, 5.3 million Facebook, 7.4 million contents which are removed from the internet. Facebook, Instagram, hate speech, content, the threatening, children's being threatened by the internet, and sexual abuse and sexual exploitation. As you can see, the numbers are quite high. And last but not least, last January, we updated several products to our consumers to support parents, educators, to manage screen time, or how long their students will be connected to the internet, and also to monitor the quality of content that they navigate. For instance, if a child is for too long researching for a certain topic, there will be a message suggesting them to look for something else, or where he will be able able to find information about that certain research. So it's not just a matter of time, but a time with quality. Night messages, night warns. If that student is still in the Instagram late at night, he's going to get a pop-up message suggesting him to leave the app as it's running late at night. Some other tools that can be helpful for controller use to restrict screen use, time use, or for instance, an adult which is not connected to that youngster cannot send a private message to that young fellow. And that is a way to avoid any sort of abuse between malicious adults and children who are online, and also reducing mitigating any harm by the instruction of apps. I mean, if the platform warns that it might be a problematic connection, if there is an alert or a security alert, this pop-up message will also appear in their parents' device or even the youngster's device. Hidden words, this is part of the bullying policy where we offer tools that some words will be filtered and then hidden. Therefore, contents or comments on posts with those words or expressions, they will no longer appear, they will be hidden.
Da proteção de acordo com a idade.
So we talk about protection according to age. I'm going to go very fast because I would like to mention quite briefly some of the initiatives that stand out, and we think it's very important to share with you. Dissemination of intimate images on platforms. This is a violation. It is not allowed on the platform, and we have two very important initiatives that address this directly. One, Take It Down, that we announced today in Brazil. This was a tool that was available since last year, but now it is available in Portuguese and other 25 languages. It is operated by NIC.br in the United States. That is an organization that works in the United States, supported by Meta. But, you know, images of youngsters and minors can be reported, and the data does not leave the device of those that are using the service to prevent data to be shared on public surfaces on platforms. So minors, if they suspect an image of theirs can be spread online, or if it has happened already, this tool is exactly for that. This is the template, just for you to have an idea of the website. There is very interesting Q&A, what is allowed, what is not. My time is up. People are giving me an ugly look, so I have to leave. But anyway, Alana left us some time. And if you're talking about, people of age, then you're talking about avoiding sharing of sexual content and video for people over 18. That's the Stop NCII. It's the same technology. Just for you to understand it fast, you select a nude image, so there is almost like a digital print on this image. And this is shared by different platforms, and then the image can no longer be shared on public surfaces. These are some of the platforms that are part of the group. The Flashlight Coalition, that is the Lanterna Coalition, to protect children and adolescents from sexual exploitation. These are the sharing of signs of problematic behaviors amongst platforms to try and prevent this kind of behavior. And finally, the Amber Alert that we are now offering in Brazil, cooperation with authorities for missing children. This is a very interesting solution directed to missing minors. When a minor is missing and the family reports to authorities, then you have a radius of 150 kilometers from where the missing was reported. Everybody who uses our services gets the message saying minor X, this is the picture, is missing. If you have information, please report to the authorities. It's a pilot project already available in 5 states, and that will be extended to other states this year. I apologize, I had too much content. I was too fast to try and use my time as well as possible, but I'm going to be here for your questions in the end. Thanks, Safernet, for the invite to be here. It's a huge pleasure. Thanks, Nick and CGI-BR for having me here again. I think it's the 4th consecutive year that I'm here. And Antonio, back to you. Thank you. Okay, so Fernando Galo, Director of Public Policies for TikTok. Good afternoon. Once again, thanks, Safernet, Nick, CGI. Congratulations on the event. I'm Fernando Galo, Director of Public Policies for TikTok Brazil, and I'm going to talk about how we have been working to develop creativity with responsibility. TikTok is a new platform, so let me try to describe it. It's the main destination of entertainment. It is an entertainment platform with short videos and lives, and our mission is inspire creativity and bring joy. If you don't know how to dance, such as myself, what do you do? This is just, provocation to tell you that TikTok is still known as the dance platform. And it's very true. It was the dance platform 3, 4, 5 years ago. But today, it is a lot more for a lot more people. It has the impact of TikTok has been largely documented for small companies, helping boost small businesses, even the publishing market that, is going through huge transformation. You have the book talk hashtag on TikTok with more than 200 billion views. Today, you go to a bookstore, there is a session of books that are recommended by TikTok. We have an impact on music. Well, it's a bit of it all. You have content for basically everyone. So let's talk about our safety work, starting with some resources. Some that we are very acquainted at, blocking, muting, but I would like to call your attention to comment filters. Today, we still try and educate people that they can block and mute accounts and even filter comments on their videos. And more specifically, this family sync tool. This is an area in which TikTok was pioneer in connecting the account of an adolescent to their parents. Still today, very few people know the tool. We have been trying to give it more visibility. We had advertising campaigns with Negrali and her daughter. In December, there was a huge campaign on Globo TV with Fátima Bernardes, Bial, Groisman, calling attention to our safety tools, also talking about family sync. And we did see an increase in the use of the tool after the campaign. So we are trying to raise awareness about this tool. And despite being a younger platform, TikTok is 7 years old, Last year, Meta turned 20. TikTok is 7. But there are areas that we are very proud to say we were pioneers uh, with different controls that respect the different stages of development. Adolescents from 13 to 15, from 16 to 17. Our product has different setups, different levels of protection according to the age of each of the users. Public or private accounts, accounts that can be recommended or not. Younger adolescents' accounts cannot be recommended at For You, for instance. If you have a live, you have to be more than 18. If you are less than 18, you cannot monetize your account. So a series of setups in terms of safety, respecting the development phase of each of those children and adolescents. Also setups in terms of screen time. I know that tomorrow we are going to talk a lot about screen time. But at TikTok, we work both with the possibility of managing time, managing screen time, that is, to set limits of how much time you're going to be using TikTok on the day, but also scheduling pauses and also controlling for how long you are using the platform throughout the week. This tool is also connected to the Family Sync tool. So parents, adults can set up specific screen times for their children and adolescents. Just as a reminder, TikTok is a platform for over 13-year-olds. We have been working tireless to remove accounts that we suspect belong to children below 13 years of age. Last year, we removed 80 million accounts throughout the world because there was a suspicion they belonged to minors of 13. Also, this was an area in which TikTok was a pioneer in offering a personalized, customized experience according to the maturity of each age. And here, on the back end, we rate contact according to the level of maturity. So there is content that is not necessarily a violator of any policy, but that is more suitable to some ages. Some can be used by all users, others for people over 14 or 16 or 18. So it is an initiative based on levels of content. And we work to show contents that are suitable to the age of each child and adolescent. And since this morning, we have been talking a lot about safety of children and adolescents. But remember, safety, security goes beyond. This is our duty, and we work with responsibility to try and keep the platform safe for everyone. We have to remember that this is an election year in Brazil, and we are working to protect the integrity of the election process. TikTok forbids political propaganda. I think we are the only platform there. Our approach towards misinformation, and which is very important in election times, is very strict. We remove misinformation, especially when it's dangerous. We don't label the information, we just remove it. We demand and facilitate the labeling of AI content. Recently, we gave users the possibility of informing when they are uploading videos that were generated by AI. And we also collaborate with fact checkers. fact checkers, I'm sorry, in Brazil with Estadão media outlet for us to make better decisions in moderating content. I think I missed a slide back here. An important part of our work is transparency of what we are doing. We, in our last transparency report that is growing each year and with more and more details, we disclose data of moderation per market and language. And we also, TikTok was the first platform to release local data per category. In the last report, the last transparency report, we are going to post the fourth quarter now, but the most recent that has been published, it goes up to September last year. In Brazil, we had 5.5 million videos removed, about 1% of the content uploaded. 98% of removals were of content that was detected proactively, that is, there was no reporting. We are working very hard to get to the 100. We hope to get there. Of course, we accept all reports. Any account can be reported to us, and our moderation group is going to analyze the content and make a decision. And 80.6% of content removed was removed before there was a single view. So this is a bit of what appears on our transparency report that is of public access. It is on our webpage and brings all our security work. Also, TikTok has been involving specialists and communities in dialogue. We have public hearings to update policies, products, conduct risk assessments, impacts, trade-offs on each of our changes in terms of policies, products, or processes. In Brazil, we have a consulting board with some specialists from different backgrounds, a very diverse group, a more formal group, but regardless of that, we talk to government, civil society, the academia, about our products, policies, but also to understand trends and see how we can adapt our work to new trends that are going on, even outside our platform and obviously on it. Also, part of the work is to educate the community for safe, responsible use. This is a partnership we had with Jorel's Bro. This is a Cartoon Network show. It was a partnership that we started last year, and the characters give tips on safety. They talk about our rules. They say that TikTok is a platform for 13 plus, talks about safety issues. So sometimes we talk about our safety issue in a more formal language, but this platform uses a very user-friendly language, and we are very proud of that. We also have several safety guides that are posted on TikTok website on different topics, foods, disorders, online challenges, fighting bullying, and others. And as I mentioned this morning, because of the Safer Internet Day that we are celebrating today and the month of a safer internet, we launched a campaign to post education videos on these topics. And these are the topics. 10 organizations that we partnered with are addressing personal cybersecurity, the use of AI, parental mediation, and others. These videos are also showing on this event today. Perhaps you've seen some of them. And these are the agencies with which we have been working. All these videos carried the hashtag for a safer net, and they can be found on this hashtag, and SaferNet is part of the campaign. This is a bit of what we do. As Thais mentioned, safety work for a platform such as TikTok will never be finished, but we continue working relentlessly to be one step ahead of perpetrators to ensure the internet's a safe place for everyone. Thank you.
Temos agora a apresentação do Vinícius Brasileiro, que é gerente de segurança.
Next, we have Information Security Manager and Strategy for Global.
Boa tarde. Antes de começar, deixa eu fazer meu agradecimento.
Vinicius, you have the floor. Good afternoon.
Tá bom. Pela disponibilidade ao NIC.br.
I would like to thank NIC.br and CGI for the invitation. It's a great honor to be here. Global, it's always covering the event, and I hope that this panel is going to be very timely. I'm going to save some time for Q&A because it's very important to, let some time for that. My presentation is full of animation and videos. This is the new global profile, and you'll be able to understand. Do you know global? Are you sure? Come on. Because we have changed, and we keep on changing. You winkle, you change, and then you change again. Today, we are much more than a content company. We are not one, but several brands that bind emotion with technology, video, audio, meme. We share in 3, 2, 1. It starts here, but it goes from plane to play, from play to display, and display, I don't know, stronger, closer, hours. To be very close one to another, because what makes it to be news, it's you. We connect so much because you are in the middle of everything we do. Each story we tell has a little bit of your story. Nice to meet you, Global. Once we meet again, we are gonna be a global, totally different than the one you are seeing right now today. Well, if that globe is going to be different, let's wait until next year if Safernet invites me to talk again. What's the goal behind this video? We are much more than an open channel TV. We are in the streamer, internet, cable TV. Why don't we take this conversation to the SaferNet, to security? Our goal is to connect security with the millions of Brazilians. This is a commitment of environmental, social, and governance. As to our goals and ambitions for by 2030 is to disseminate knowledge in the society, collaborating to have privacy, to guarantee privacy to our Brazilian citizens. And global television, global broadcast can help that to happen. Maybe on a Sunday lunch, on a pub, maybe that can be dealt naturally, and people will be able to talk about safety. And then we may learn from those that have moral knowledge, and we're going to have a culture of a society, safe society. That starts by quality information. Our journalism never gets tired. Yesterday, a youngster that we suspect of being a leader of sharing children's pornography, hands-ons deepfake. So even with some of our reporters selling counterfeit drugs, demystifying disinformation, preventing people to get into fake news, alerting them how they work, inviting experts, telling people how to get rid of those threats. If you want to learn more about that, they are at our website. We have several reports, just work as a sample. But that is not an issue just in journalism. We have a little bit of reality. Here, a way to reflect. The soap opera Babylonia 2015 was the first time that we talked about cyberbullying. Then in 2017, once we had the blue whale, and more recent, we worked about deepfake, talking about sex extortion. For those of you who do not remember, the soap opera gets out of our conscious for a while, so let's see if you recall what I'm talking about. Blue Whale, it's a challenge game. If you get in, you can never get out. If you get out, there are consequences. I will get in to see how it goes. They're asking me if I'm ready. If I say I'm ready and then I want to leave, I have to ask the whale for permission. So we are going to send your number to our boss, who will get your data and will find out about your name.
É só pegar, né? Clicas e arrasta.
Feito.
Done.
E jogar na rede?
Can we throw in the web?
Então, o que você decide? O que eu faço com essas fotos?
What do I do with these pictures? Should I delete them or should I throw them in the web? Open your dress. Dress off yourself. Please don't do that to me. Please, I beg you. Well, this year I promise not clicking in any offer that it comes in my mind in front of me. I know that saving is part of your goal, but you may lose money. Watch out the ads. My resolution for this year is to keep watching closely anything which is a new fake. Well, I cannot guarantee that there will be no coup in 2024, but you know, maybe they will end up giving up. Well, this is an opportunity to generate conversation among the family. And some coups or fake, better saying, how to avoid that. All these examples are available at globalplay.com. All content will be available there. But how can a media company collaborate even more? How can we have a positive debate? Well, to keep this topic and keep it alive in the people's imaginary. Well, to have to alert about the harm and the danger in the web, and to disseminate the topic throughout behavioral changes. Last year, we had a partnership with Safernet. We created a manual of best practices, which is always available at Safernet, and we want to do much more together in the future. Every year, we cover the Safernet Day. Since 2008, we covered the event. So early this morning, our team of reporters and journalists, they were here. It's a way to give visibility to the topic. And here we have some pieces of our partnership and how we cover this event. And internally, we do much more. Today, this guy, he recorded this video too, and then we broadcasted at our YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and this video is available if you wanted to retweet it. You should do it as we are giving some hints. Well, I believe that everyone like myself, we are connected and we do almost everything. Bank transfer, we talk to people, we consume content, we buy, we learn, you name it. And the digital world is not an exception. There are, you know, people that are badly intended and they do harmful things. So ideally, we should navigate safely. And there are a few things that we can do in that sense. Take a look. Whenever you are accessing your social network, social media, try not to post your current location, pictures of children wearing their school uniform, or to tell places or to share places that you visit daily, because that may represent a risk to your privacy. And think about your content. Is that aggressive? Can be harmful to anyone? Can set any kind of constraints? Well, think about that. And you can do something for extra layer protection. Strong, unique passwords, activate all the steps verification whenever that is available. In case one password goes wrong, that will not affect all other passwords. Do you have your way to store your passwords? Yes, I do, but I don't remember what my passwords are. And if you have children at home that access internet, you have to set parental control. Global Play, for instance, has parental control feature. And last but not least, be careful with attacks. If you get a message with that alarming, speech, try to verify if that is a message from your bank. Call yourself to the bank to check it out. Another way is to arrange with your friends and family members, like awards, that they will know that you are the one that is asking for that bank transfer. And don't click in any link that is sent to your email. It may be fake. If you take some of those safe measures, you are going to guarantee a safe environment. Any attitude will make a huge difference. So watch out. Thank you so much. This was a way to show you a little bit of what we do to our society to raise awareness and to guarantee safer net. Thank you.
Temos perguntas da plateia aqui. Tem uma pergunta que me chegou por escrito.
We have some questions, I guess. Well, there is one that has been submitted in writing. It's a very long question. I will not read all of that out loud, but the question has to do with data protection. Sergio and Antonio, they said the following. Even though we are using a computer which is not infected with no virus at all, we are traced in the internet, and they are concerned about lack of transparency and the way we are tracked, because we feel that there is this tracking, constant tracking. At what extent are users still tracked? What do they do with the data which is being tracked? Where do they send our personal information to? Well, this is the type of question that is being addressed. Who would like to answer? Well, let me, before you answer, ask you all a question, a personal question. You ladies who have emphasized children's protections, you've listed some techniques here in your presentations which can ideally protect children and adolescents. You've mentioned that the publicity advertisements, they are not directed for this group of consumers. I found the techniques very cool, but I was curious about the following. My daughter and my mom, my daughter who is 14, she is much more prepared to protect herself, to protect her own personal information, and maybe to know if she's dealing with fake news or fraud, counterfeit, than my mom, who is over 70 and she makes daily use of the internet, but yet she does not have this broader understanding about privacy and safety. Those mechanisms that you are driving today, they are more towards children and adolescents. Have you ever thought about protecting people who are more digital illiteracy, not necessarily elderly people, but the new beginners, the so-called digital illiterate people that are more superficial, that cannot go deep into the topic? Is there any possibility to do so? Well, thank you for your questions, and then I will hand over to my peers. Your question, your reflection is very timely because it is also part of Safe Day.
And, I think we have a role, we as the private sector have to collaborate. It's very important for us to discuss and move forward in media education, for us to make sure that children, adolescents, and also adults are more informed and more aware of the digital environment and have a more critical view on the digital environment for us to work in a safer way with a safer, healthier environment. We have a series of projects in media education. We work with several collaborations. We have a campaign which is hit pause, that is to create, a pause. In the case of YouTube, some short videos, stop, think. So I think Vinicius Cauê brought some tips there. Is the content too shocking? Is it alarming? Think about it. So these are tips that help us educate people. It is a journey, as the safety journey that is ongoing, and we have to enhance the process more and more. I think Galo brought that. Evil players, perpetrators are always seeking new breaches of opportunity. And we have to close the breaches before they are reached. But the central point here is collaboration for us to be able to reach different stakeholders, different realities. The internet, considering the inequalities of our country, access to technology, whatever you name it, we still have to ensure awareness, good information, and our role as the private segment is to ensure that media education tools that improve the experience are clearer, more available to everyone, and also that they can be self-explanatory so that people can have a safer journey. And to answer the question from the audience on data, as I brought to you before, we do not collect data on children and adolescents for advertising. We collect data to improve our products. We don't have an individualization of this data. And I think that was an important advance. Another pillar in media education and partnership. Last year we were here and we launched the Prime Book on privacy with the Monica Bunch. I know it's not for your child, probably they don't like Monica Bunch anymore, but it's just to make information more available and accessible to the families so that they can make more informed, better decisions. I think, the Monica Bunch story on privacy is very interesting, and it's a very easy way to understand. I love the Monica Bunch. Monica Bunch is a comic book developed by a Brazilian designer. Okay, the organizers are asking us to move faster. You stuck to time, but anyway, we were slightly late. So I asked you the question, but I want you to answer as briefly as possible so that we can close this panel. Okay, just to add, in the case of MENT, the work of prevention is very important and also to provide answers. Prevention brings us solutions brought for safer apps and education, which is absolutely a must. So using campaigns, not only directed campaigns, for instance, last year we had a campaign on children are a serious business. And we know that some problems affect the children and the eldest the most because they are not, tech savvy. So I think that we have mechanisms to remove malicious content and, other issues. And talking about advertising, the same. We do not collect data on underage minors. We just have geolocation and age for us not to use advertising, and geolocation for you in Brazil to see products for Brazil and not for Singapore, for example. On my side, very briefly, TikTok does not have advertising for people under 18. Either we have been working to be clearer on terms of use, privacy policies, and also we have been working with campaigns. I gave you some examples, campaigns that use different language. The SafeNet campaign, I forgot to mention, we are investing 1 million reais in advertisement credit. Before I got to stage, we had 10 million views for the hashtag. So it's also a way people identify TikTok as a younger platform. Most people that use TikTok are over 18. And TikTok grandpas, there is a story about them, are also on the platform. And to answer your question about your mother and people that have been younger for longer, so to speak, we have this campaign on Globo TV with Fátima Bernardes, Serginho Grossman, Bial, to really reach the different audience, both more younger and also more senior. I think just to contribute to the question that came from the audience, we have, our general data protection law, and today people can have specific settings on privacy, understand what companies know of them. So usability, sometimes it's hard for you to get there, but today you can know your history, you can erase your history if it is your will. And I think this has been improving. Platforms have been working together with the end of cookies. There will be always a way to collect information, but the right to privacy is much more in the hands of consumers. Okay, I'd like to thank you all and also draw attention for those that are watching us that there are so many points in common. Almost everyone talked about principles, about actions that are principle-based, of work together with the community. So it's very clear in this panel that was meant to bring the view of the private sector on security, that you are working hard to have actions that really are effective in the area and that you are all listening, users and the other stakeholders. So congratulations to you all. You are far from being the villains of the process. And I think your presentation made it very, very clear. So thank you very much for attending and for having all these positive actions going on. Thank you, Alana, Thais, Fernanda, Vinicius, Antonio, representing such large companies like YouTube, TikTok, Globo, Meta, Facebook, and Instagram, and NIC.br. Thank you very much. Excellent panel. And now we are going to stop for coffee. Is that okay? Okay, just for the sake of time, right here I have exits that lead to coffee, so you can come down. We have doors behind the stage that will lead you to coffee. 15 minutes for coffee and water, 10. 10 minutes for coffee, water, and we'll be back to continue our event. See you in 10.
Direito à liberdade
Sim, já tomamos um café, estamos reenergizados. Vocês que nos acompanham virtualmente também espero que tenham.
So we had coffee. I hope you are back. And I'd like to invite all of you who are with us, both in person and online, to come back so that we can resume the activities of this afternoon. So right now we are going to start our final event of the Safer Internet Day for 2024. Remember that the official hashtags are hashtag Safer Internet Day and hashtag SID 2024. Don't forget to interact. And as our keynote speaker, I'm going to invite Virgílio Almeida, Professor of Computer Sciences of the Federal University of Minas Gerais and of Beckman Klein Center from Harvard University. A hand of applause to Virgílio Almeida.
O Virgílio é doutor em ciência da computação pela
Virgílio is a PhD of Computer Sciences by Vanderbilt, Master of Science by PUC-Rio, and electrical engineer from PUC-UMG. He was a National Secretary of Information Technology between 11 and 15, member of the Brazilian Academy of Sciences and the World Academy of Sciences, researcher of CNPq, winner of the SCW Award for Sciences in 2023, co-author of the book Algorithm Institutionalism, published by Oxford University Press. To moderate the panel and make comments on our keynote speech and closing the afternoon, I would like to invite to the floor Demi Gitko, representative of Internet issues in the Brazilian Committee for the Internet, CEO of Information Communication of NIC.com and NIC.br, and associate professor of the Pontifical University of São Paulo. Demi, you have the floor, and I wish you all an excellent keynote speech. Thank you very much for the introduction. So now we are going to have our keynote. I'll just add to what was said about Virgílio. It is an honor to have you here today. We worked for many years together, and we all know that Virgílio was coordinator for the CGI for a long period, very successfully. So without any further ado, Virgílio has to take a flight later on today. So let's see his presentation. And Virgílio, thanks for accepting the invite, and you have the floor. Thank you, Demi. Thank you. What's your name? Natalia, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, all of you who are here in person and online. I'd like to thank Safernet invite, Tiago, that invited me to be part of this day today on Safer Internet Day. And the topic I chose is a topic that I'm going to try and show why it has a say in many of the difficulties we see in the problems of digital services. And I'm going to talk about algorithm, but I'm going to start slightly differently. I'm not going to talk about algorithms in the recommendation of content, video, etc. I'm going to bring something different. And you're going to think that I lost track because I'm going to talk about kidney transplant. So the question, and then I'm going to explain, is the following. Who gets a kidney transplant. Just for you to have an idea, in the US, there are about 100,000 people online for a kidney transplant. And, if you have 100,000 people, you certainly do not have an availability of 100,000 organs. And there, the algorithm is going to say who should be on the top of the list for a transplant. There are several interesting things in this process that can be used when we think together about content recommendation process. There are some fundamental questions to be asked in the recommendation of transplant. And I took note of some. First, what's the accuracy of an algorithm? How many decimal places should be included in the algorithm to test or define or recommend who is to receive that organ to be transplanted? And, there is a number, there is a score that is going to place you on a line. For example, the algorithm calculates each patient's score out to 16 decimal places. And the question I would ask would be the following. What would be the meaning of a tiny difference in the 14th decimal place? Imagine a full number and 14 positions after the point, two people have the same score. However, on the 14th decimal place, there is a tiny difference. One has a 9, the other has a 7. The question I should ask, that could sound technical, but it is a moral question. The dilemma of who is going to survive, considering that those that get the transplant are going to have a higher chance of survival, should be decided by the 14th decimal place. This is not a tech question. It is a moral question that involves different aspects. The process of creating, in fact, this was something created in the US in the 60s and 70s. There was this public organization that coordinates transplants throughout the country. And they have this algorithm today. As I mentioned, there are 100,000 people waiting in line for a kidney transplant, and they organize that.
This algorithm today is so much different from the one that was initially projected back in the 70s. You may be wondering, what is the relationship here? What does that have to do with internet safety, platforms? Well, that's very simple. First, that was so new, people would not be able to understand all of that. And there was a process to, and get more learning about that and how it should work. The current version is totally different today than the one that was a great change in the 70s. And moreover, it's totally different if we would let them and get the algorithm definition on the technician's hands to start with. Second, the first system plan was discussed on a public meeting where people will give their suggestions. And in the past year, or the 70s, they had to discuss about objective function, what each one of the algorithms will show to each one of us in each platform. So they had to understand what they want to do with the algorithm. Well, they had to define first, algorithms, they have to maximize the number of years of survival that that person will have. Fair enough. So the person will undergo a transplant to live a month. Well, It sounds quite fair, doesn't it? And then some representatives from another group, probably from my generation. How about us, the oldest ones? Don't we have any chance to undergo a transplant? How come that the mechanism which defines such an objective feature will privilege the youngsters? And then they started a process where they involve multiple sectors of the society. And who are the stakeholders of the problem? Patients, patients' family members, health providers, physicians, nurses, the population, and what was the strategy, the governance strategy to turn that algorithm, which has a life and death impact, as being acceptable by all? They all have different objectives. They are not going to have one single dominant position. So the governance strategy was multi-stakeholder participation, where we have a multi-stakeholder participant since the very beginning, CGI and NIC, a multi-stakeholder participation, transparency of algorithms, the capacity of inclusion, the possibility to have a horizon of functioning, and to be able to audit. The society has the ability to audit. How come they have chosen X or Y? All of that has a moral logic which does not satisfy everyone, but at least it represents a minimum consensus, and that is in action. Therefore, this is an example which supports some of the factors which I would like to cover here today. Now let's change gears and let's switch to a digital current context where we have a system of main platforms with different goals. Google, social media, recommendation platforms. Down here we have public services, gov.br made their presentation, private services, all banks, they have their own platforms. We also have AI assistants. We have the application services such as Airbnb, Uber. But all these social technical systems, they have three characteristics to comply with. First, they are managed by algorithms and not by human beings. Second, there is a decision-making process which is automated. You do not participate at the next step content or the next recommendation. And there is another much larger process under data collections. Data is key to allow algorithms to work in such a way that they will reach their goals. In yellow, I have listed the platforms where we have generated videos that should not be broadcasted, neither disseminated, because they have abuse content. Platforms, they work with several algorithms. And maybe I could, divide them within two categories: content processing, face recognitions, image filters, audit transcriptions, language translation, augmented and virtual reality. And then we have a number of other algorithms, which are the ones that we are more interested in about, such as the ones that will lead to content propagation. If they do not propagate, it would be restricted to a number of people. Within those, you have search, you have content moderations, You have friends, recommendations, notifications, and trending. They recommend feeds, anything that will be sent to you in the YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and platforms. Each one of their platforms, they have their own technologies and they adapt themselves. But these are more generic points. So content. So we have algorithms, policies, which will manage and conduct all the content generation and interfaces. And they will all per se influence how people will or will not interact to the platforms. And platforms, they are not able to do that by themselves. There is an interaction between human behavior and platform behavior. Human behaviors, they are human content generators or platform generators. And they both fit to the so-called emergent effects. They cannot be expected. If something becomes viral, it was impossible to forecast that that would become viral. A number of internal or external factors to the content were responsible to turn that into an emergent effect and to be more disseminated. So I will emphasize my talk on the recommendation algorithm. Algorithms, they are not our enemies. Please bear that in mind. Algorithms, they are essential. They are part of a demand as they turn possible an interaction to the universe. And here I'm talking about a large content scale. Therefore, algorithms are not our enemy, please. And it's up to us to understand how they will operate. That is just crucial for policymakers, for tech companies to explain what is going on. Therefore, shall we better see algorithms as the key of the process? And I repeat, they are not our enemies, and they came to help us to work on the digital environment, especially under a limited conditions of content. And by that, I mean image, text, and voice. And as within this realm of kids protection, can an algorithm tell when kids are in danger? Yes, that's possible, but that will, as a consequence, demand a protection by the civil agencies. In a nutshell, they are not our enemies, and they can be very convenient because by the quantity, the only way to identify if we are under any harm is thanks to the accuracy of our algorithms. This month, Oxford Express has released this article saying that it's high time that we should see algorithms in a different way. And the title of this article is Algorithmic Institutionalism and How That Can Change the Rules of the Society as part of a social behavior. This is a very comprehensive article, but I would like to highlight that algorithms, they are like institutions. And by that, I mean a physical institution. No, I'm talking about families. Families, they are an example of a physical institution that will establish standards, rules, norms, and the way that and how that group will perform. And some of those recommendation algorithms, they are very similar to an institution features and roles. That's why they should comply with the same aspects of an institution role. So it would be almost unfeasible, even impossible, to find relevant content, products, and services without algorithmic tools that are essential and make content visible. Let me stand up to be able to read it closer. Algorithms, they learn about what people are fond of, and they learn by several signs, such as likes, comments, visualization, broadcasting, posting or reposting a content. I mean, there are multiple signs. Each company has its own technology to add value to those signs that will help algorithms to understand what our preferences are.
Mas o outro ponto é o seguinte, e aí foi falado aqui diversas vezes. Nós estamos falando no mundo digital.
We are all here talking about digital world where we have the good guys and the bad ones. We have some players who are malicious and they have malicious intentions. Therefore, they have to have their operation scenario restrained. As algorithms, they are able to manipulate people to set standards. So ideally, the recommendation algorithms which will offer us product, contents, and services, they keep our engagement they keep our engagement throughout interaction at those different platforms. What can be really harmful can be the content generated by those hackers and how those algorithms will or will not manipulate that content information, and how can we restrain malicious players. Here are some examples from American newspapers. This is an article published at the New York Times saying that problems with children and adolescents using social media and how unhappy those kids are, especially because algorithms, they offer things immediately. Everything works under a sense of urgency. Therefore, algorithms are making kids desperately unhappy if they want to learn about a certain music, literature, book. People have lost that possibility of finding things out because algorithms, they do that for us now. And public health is concerned about the level of frustration that may add to a generation, because now our curiosity is being restrained. Curiosity now goes through an algorithm. How could we deal with that? It's just impossible to live on an environment without the algorithms. And social media companies, they know that content that generates negative feelings, holding our attention longer than that which makes us feel good. And the society should wonder, how come that those that will lead to negative feelings, or those contents that generate negative feelings, couldn't that be offset by contents that would somehow lead to a more proactive action, making people feeling better? American press, some snapshots of American press and Instagram's case and an experience carried out by the Wall Street Journal, showing how abusive virus would be appearing at a young users' feed. And Meta said that the tests were a manufacturer experience, not matching what billions of users of the social media platform experience, but it may happens then, or how TikTok's algorithms exploits the vulnerability of children, and the TikTok experience with brief and short videos, which will test users without their permission, just asking if they would accept or not, and that will design the For You experience, and that can be harmful because it's related to sexual abuse. How to summarize everything else? Decipher me or I will devour you. This is the Sphinx enigma. And this is an enigma where the contemporary society should try to do their best to solve it. How to work with this dilemma? In the cloud, we have some social technical systems that will involve human and not human algorithms, social media platforms, governmental platforms. And outside the cloud, what have we got? Researchers trying to understand it, journalists who play a very important work, especially when they describe facts, academics, policymakers, citizens, and who are scientists, and non-governmental organizations, such as Safernet, that lists the problems, but we have to uncodify that environment. Not only Safernet, but the eSafe from Australia that also works on a number of guidelines to minimize the deleterious effects of having inappropriated content that can be harmful to our youngsters.
And it suggests possibilities like the circuit breaker, which is to reduce access to users and others. Now, based on that idea that we have to understand, and when I say we say the society, we have to understand these issues to interact with companies, because these are services that bring benefits. So again, algorithm is not the enemy. It brings us possibilities. So recommend the systems. It's very important that we're able to open the black box to understand how the gear moves, the algorithms. So algorithms are projected to maximize engagement. I told you about the kidney transplant. The idea was to maximize the number of years in survival. And then there's always someone that says, this is not fair. So what groups do not agree with maximizing engagement? Because we can have other policies and we should discuss them. So systems designed to maximize engagement may also draw people to keep engagement. They have, I don't know, can bring things, scientific papers and everything, but it's negative content that brings people together, that engages people. So this is human nature, negative content is more appealing. And that leads to normalization of prejudice, hatred speech, the expansion of misogynist, homophobic, racist, and extreme content. So there is a gap there. We know that maximizing engagement brings that. But is there another way? They have lots of other services in addition to advertising. I'd like to say that more transparency is important for the society to understand this issue. Transparency on algorithms, about their function, and also understanding these issues that are not understood or that are little understood by most people. And it is very important that people understand them for us to have public policies that are based on knowledge and not only based on lobbying. So regulatory agencies have to understand how algorithms work and how they affect us. For example, we are in a process, globally speaking, that there are always attempts. The New York State, for instance, proposed a bill that will ban people under 18 to access the feed of some of these companies. Very complicated. It goes straight to the algorithm. The algorithm cannot be used by people under 18. You can use a past feed, but anyway, this is something that is being proposed by the state of New York. Other states have been trying to pass similar laws. Now, the question is there a way out? Is it possible to think of new paths for recommender algorithms? This is the question we would like to answer. Recently, there was this study developed by BBC, a project showing recommenders with values, human values, social values. And they are developing and testing engines, search engines, recommendation agencies in public service organizations that focus on public service. Obviously, the group of the University of Berkeley in California said, has the study Beyond Engagement, aligning algorithms, algorithm recommendations with pro-social goals. Can we do that? Well, this is something that is not solved by large companies alone. It has to come from a multi-sector discussion as the ones that are carried out by CGI. So this is the context. But what is ahead of us? What is coming? What are the new challenges? AI and children. Children and adolescents are the largest cohort of the internet, the largest demographic population. And they get to the internet very fast. I have a 3-year-old grandson, and he goes on YouTube. And now he likes Ninja Go. I learned that. I cannot use recommendations because, it's all based on his taste, but it works well. So what to think for children? And the challenges, we talked about this morning. There was this discussion on AI, and this is a very relevant and timely discussion. The Economic Forum brought also the issue in their meeting in January. Children are going to use internet faster. It's easy. If you use the internet, it's easy. And things surface easy, faster than we think. We think it's faster, but, the government takes a lot longer to react. So we have to carry these discussions at the society level. I come from the Federal University of Minas Gerais. In there, we have the commission to define the academic use for artificial intelligence. In terms of papers, tests, exercises, what professors should use or not. You have to have rules, because if you don't have the rules, things escape your control. So it is really paramount to understand these issues. And the issues are becoming more and more complex. I'll give you an example. There is this character.ai that generates characters. And there are examples in the UK of young people turning to AI therapists, bots created by this platform. And the effect of that is a therapist that is a bot. So the young talks about their problem, what they are feeling, and the bot brings a suggestion on how to treat them. This is not therapy. And this is, something that has been with us since the 60s, when Joseph Eisenbaum, a professor of the MIT, created the first experimental bot called Eliza. And people thought that Eliza was great. His secretary, talked to Eliza about all her intimate feelings. And he said, there is something wrong about this. So these are the issues we should be worried about, or why kids need special protection from AI's influence. That is, I think, an interesting example of these examples is the civil framework for the internet. Many years ago, 2009, if I'm not mistaken, CGI designed the principles for internet governance. Later on, the discussion was expanded, several groups were created, the discussion hit Congress. For several years, it was discussed. In 2014, they approved the civil framework, but it came from a civil society proposal for guidelines, recommendations, principles for AI for children.
É preciso não é que se tenha que criar todas os novos princípios, mas
it's not that you have to create all principles, but some principles should be adapted. For example, you have one principle that we talk about, that algorithms should be understandable. We have to be able to explain them. But explaining something to an adult is different than explaining something to a child. So there should be a different process there. And here we have a suggestion from UNICEF, general proposals for policies on AI for children. They are general, but they have to adapt to children because it's not the same audience. It is not the same cognition. In conclusion, I leave you some suggestions that I thought could be useful for discussion. First, we need multidisciplinary research in Brazil. Brazilian conditions are different from the UK, from the US. We need research produced in Brazil on the influence of algorithms on children's behavior and mental health. We have to have data, because without data, we are just discussing opinions, and that will lead to no results. Also, another important point that platforms can help us with is that for research, we need usage data from digital platforms in Brazil for research purposes, to feed researchers in such a way that we can generate results and better understanding of research. We need, when I say we, I'm talking about society, we have to incorporate a more comprehensive education on what is a healthy digital diet for our children, and include this in the curriculum of our schools. And finally, we need to discuss policies. There is this author, Demi knows, called Norbert Finger, was the creator of the idea of the term cybernetics. And he has a very interesting book, and we talked about the human use of human beings. And he says, he says the following: if society is absent from giving solutions, results will come with the wind. And what do I mean by that? Or what does he mean for that? Solutions are not necessarily technological. The technicality has to provide signs, information, but solutions are going to be provided by society. Well, that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Virgílio. We have very little time because he has a flight to catch. Before you think about a question, I'm going to ask one, because he talked about algorithms and everything. And I remembered Alter Clark's text that became a movie, 2001. And the objective of the computer is to take the vessel to Jupiter. And he thinks that astronauts are, in a way, on the way. And what he said is extremely interesting. And the example that made me thought of that was kidney transplant. If objective is to increase survival, the elderly will not receive kidneys. So by defining objectives, we have huge responsibility. And as Virgílio mentioned, we have to review that from time to time. Otherwise, you run the risk of having the wrong objective. And just to close the comment, my comment, I used ELIZA. And at the time, the bots did not learn as AI learns today. Today, the objective is, I don't know, learning how to play chess. Then AI learns how to play chess and beats you. So this is an issue of the internet today. So I'm going to open for your questions. If you have a question, we have 10 minutes before he has to go back to Minas Gerais. So if you have a question, we have microphones available. If you want to make any comments, Virgílio, be my guest. We have a question way back there. Okay. Name and question. My name is Katia. Thank you for this event. It's been incredible for parents, educators, and everyone. You should have even more of this event and an MBA for parents because things are hard for us. Virgílio, I have a question. This is really something that makes me crazy. I have a 10-year-old, and I would like to understand why do we have so much exposure to violence, demons, games to these children? So we are parents trying to control the internet, but games, interactions with friends are all based on this violence. What is the interest behind that, exposing the ugly to children at such a tender age? I don't think there is one answer to your question, but I would say that again, what is negative, what is forbidden, attracts our attention. And that is true for children as well. The question that could follow is what to do then, if that's part of human nature. What is discussed is we have to try and think of other values for the dissemination of content. Because if algorithms are based on what draws the most attention and generates more engagement, then perhaps we should have other ways of doing that, because there are games that are interesting. So I think this is the question to be asked. What could engage people other than violence and negative content? I was watching the panel from Globo, lots of nice things, appealing. If you are an artist, if you're a designer, if you're a producer, you know there are things that are appealing. So if you insert that in algorithms, other things that can engage, perhaps you would reach a better point.
My name is Ian Drennan. I'm Executive Director of We Protect Global Alliance, which is an international network focused on child sexual abuse online. Thank you so much for your presentation. One of the things we've noticed in our subject area is bad actors or offenders deliberately subverting and using AI for their own purposes. I wonder, could you say something about that use by criminals or others of that technology, and how we can guard against that?
Thank you, Ian. Yeah. Well, you brought a very complicated question. Bad actors os maus atores são
bad actors. Well, that is a mankind's characteristics. They have always been around. The fact, though, is that over the internet, you have a free place for that to take place, as people, they may invade throughout different artifacts. That is a fact. I mean, there isn't much to do about it. However, the main tech companies, they could do something in different senses. A couple of years ago, some students of mine, they conducted a quantitative survey based on data showing that spam generators and hate speech, they all had a background, a prior background. They were not the first moment generators. Something would come prior to that. So, they had to identify and follow those that had a prior history, a background. And for that, we can do things like delay content display, or maybe to set some drivers that would prevent disseminating that content that can be harmful. And and we have to learn how to cope with that. But even internet shows us some interesting traces by telling us about prior attempts and prior activities. And once that is notified, it's up to the justice and to the law enforcement to punish them. Going back to the algorithms presentations. Algorithm is on the 14th decimal case, a youngster and older patient. Is that enough? I don't think so. Let's say that the young person is a criminal and the old guy that probably has maybe another 5 or 10 years of life, who is a PhD, a scientist. Well, we have here different weights to consider in addition to the age of a person. This is just, a simple example. If we had more time, I would give you here a list of other examples, different policies. And my question then is, at what extent should we consider that or not? At what extent can we be quite sure that everything that has been considered so far is enough without getting into a sin? Well, it's difficult to answer you exactly at what extent. Well, digital services, they are now part of everyone's life. Without a Waze, how can you commute in a city like São Paulo if you didn't have all the application services to get a cab, to get a food delivered? The society would not be able to cope with all this modernity. But what I'm talking about is to rely on a governance of those services. And by that governance, I mean to define the rules, procedures, norms. And such a governance should not be exclusive to tech sector companies or governmental agencies, but that should be a consequence of a broad agreement. And the Congress, it's usually the way for that. But governance has other prior steps that come before a new legislation. At what extent? Well, I think that it will be pushing ahead because there will be much more to come afterwards. Professor Virgilio, thank you and congrats for your brilliant talk. I had the honor to be CGI advisor during your office, and under your coordination, the CGI has reached its most prestigious time where we were very important players. I recall really well during 2014, 15, and 16, during the World Net or Net Mundial, and Professor Virgilio, together with Professor Demis Getsko, that was possible, followed by IGF in 2015 in João Pessoa, Paraíba. Also, the legal framework, I was present during the sanction of that law, and ever since much has happened. And here we are once again. We have an opportunity to have the Global Net Plus 10, the Brazilian presidency during the G20, where the digital topic is a hot topic in the G20 agenda. Even tomorrow we are going to have a talk addressing information integrity. And now I'd like to hear from you. You are one of the greatest scientists and experts in this area who is recognized internationally. What is your take about our opportunities? How can Brazil become a major player in building up all this consensus, awareness? And one of your features is to build up consensus under complex topics like all this that we are here discussing about. I would love if you could elaborate a little bit more about your future reflections. Before that, a small comment. You know, he's a dear friend. We spent 4 years together. You know, so he's been really nice with me. Net Mundial, the global net in 2014, and the next one that will take place this year, 2024. We are dealing with different problems and constraints. How about Brazil? How can we fit right now? We have a golden opportunity. We have the presidents of G20. Last time was in India, and they were really smart to show how digital advancement of the Indian economy was key. And today, India is one of the 6th largest economies in the world. Brazil has been ranked in that list as well, but not anymore, unfortunately. So what are the opportunities that Brazil may have? Well, digital technologies, are we doing fine? No, we are lagging behind. AI, we have a small number of researchers. The AI production and the production of artifacts and AI tools is done abroad mainly. The main AI models, the main language AI models, they are within 4 or 5 large companies that have tech, human, and financial resources. And you might be wondering, do we have any chance at all? Yes, there is a very interesting chance, to be honest. Artificial intelligence, it depends mainly on data. The main language models, machine learning, training data centers, and Brazil has got data that other countries haven't got. We have our unified health system in a population with over 100 million inhabitants, from ethical, social terms, and no other country has such a high volume of data concentrated. The UK has their NHS, but not with the same volume of variety as we have in Brazil. And that is an asset that we have not well explored. We also have a great education system with so much information you wouldn't believe. Everything is automated. All students answers what they got right, what they got wrong, all their social information. But unfortunately, we don't make the best use of that information to generate technology. So Brazil has a huge possibility to work in that sense. First, we have to make the best use of that information to our own good. If we find a way to better manage and to have data governance, that will be key. Brazil is a large country with a younger population, but these youngsters, they have to be trained, educated, so we can be more competitive in a global market. Despite not being ranked within the 6 largest countries in the digital environment, we are doing fine. And G20 will represent a great opportunity to Brazil. Digital development, it will never stop. There is no way back. No one will give a step backwards. And digital development will not collaborate to increase social and economic disparity. In fact, that should be a way to collaborate to decrease inequality, which is probably our main concern. So we are lacking of policies, executions, investments in science and technology, but I am quite optimistic despite all of that. Well, he has to rush, he's got a plane to catch. Big round of applause to Mr. Carvalho. Thank you, Virgilio. Thank you for this enriching talk, and to Mr. Getsko for all his collaboration. A very enriching panel, and we are about to close and conclude our first day. Let me thank everyone who has participated at this hub meeting to celebrate Safernet Day. Those of you who are on site or those who have joined us remotely, thanks for your participation. It was a very rich journey. We were synchronized to over 50 other events taking place at other 30 Brazilian cities and all over the globe. This is a day that is being celebrated all over. We have it here. We had 268 participants following us online. 92 people here on site. Big round of applause for you guys who made it here today. And let me remind you that today's videos, they will be available at NIC.br YouTube channel. And very soon, those videos will be available at our website, safernetday.org.br, and also NIC.br channel. Tomorrow, we are going to have our second day. This is an edition with a very comprehensive agenda, full of novelties. You are all invited to join us here tomorrow and to share this event with your friends, audiences, and don't forget to share the hashtags SEED-BR, SEED2024. We have a closing video, I guess. But before our farewell, please, if you could take your seats so we can watch this closing video.
Não brinque em serviço, hein? Um resumo do nosso dia. Que proveitoso.
So it was a very fruitful day. I hope you had all enjoyed. And on behalf of our sponsors, Safernet Brasil, CGI.br and NIC.br, I wish you all a very pleasant and lovely evening. And you guys who are here today, we'll be offering you a cocktail party. So please enjoy your cocktail, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Goodbye and see you. Thank you.